live. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Oh, hello and welcome to the Warhammer Meta Chasers. This is your weekly live show, as evident by what just happened, where we run down the biggest and best tournaments for Warhammer 40,000 coming up over the weekend. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
Oh, good day.
And Dustin Henshaw.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome everyone in the chat. We'd actually just recorded our part 2 from last week for the level 2 and above patrons. So if you're hanging out here and waiting for that to drop, listen to it right after this. It's going to be over there on the Patreon page. Check it out if you haven't already. We have some great events to cover this weekend. We're looking forward again. Last year we did an LBO recap because how could you not recap the biggest event in the universe? But this week we are looking forward again. We've got the international team tournament, the Winter International Team Tournament, and the Dice Hammer Open we're going to be talking about. And I really want to give an event shout out also to Indonesia's first ever grand tournament.
Awesome.
Winter Assault. Indonesia, Warhammer is everywhere. If you didn't know, you can basically go anywhere in the world and play some Warhammer and also play competitive Warhammer. How cool is that?
Indeed, that's being hosted in Jakarta, which is the capital of Indonesia. 32 players, 5 rounds. How exciting.
That's amazing. I love hearing that.
That's a relatively short flight for me, as in like it's under 10 hours. I could just fly straight up there.
10 hours is a relatively short flight for you. That man.
It is, yes. Yeah.
2 hours for me is normal.
Nurgle Matt, A Steve, KR, Dorian, good to see y'all in the chat. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for joining us. We are going to get right into it with the juicy middle here, the Winter International Team Tournament. This is from outside Coventry in England, 695 players. 139 teams of 5 competing over 6 rounds. As you know, in team events, players cannot on the same team cannot select the same codex more than once. So in teams of 5, that's are we going to see things distilled down into some very distinct archetypes?
We shall see.
Yeah, we're running down what we're going to see there. Anything above 50% like of the anything above that mark are things that players probably consider the most dominant list out there right now. I think it's basically what I was expecting.
Yeah, well, that's going to be what 70. We'll say that's exactly above 50%. So we'll see how many you have. But in teams of 5, you're not going to see as many because it's a lot more, unless the meta is very stagnant, which it's not right
and we've seen with giant team events, like massive ones, we almost have to scale down our metric and say it's maybe more like a third than a half. True. Just because there's just kind of not that many players of every faction. There's model restrictions and all sorts.
Dustin hit the nail on the head too. We've seen a very diverse meta, like with top 10s of each event almost being like one-ofs down the line. Is there a dominant list, or is it a general's pick out there at the moment?
Well, let's see what they think over somewhere outside Coventry. The Imperial super faction, there are 4 Imperial agents at a team. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That's double the last time we talked about it, really.
mad folks out there. 6 Sisters of Battle, 43 Custodes. That made me sad to say 6 Sisters of Battle, guys. That actually made me very sad.
Yep.
43 Custodes, 20 AdMech, 52 Astra Militarum, no real surprise there. 22 Grey Knights, 21 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 51 Adeptus Astartes, once again, not surprising. 12 Dark Angels, 7 Space Wolves, 23 Blood Angels, 6 Black Templar, and 3 Death Watch. So it seems to be the Blood Angels are the specific chapter of choice. Chaos, there are 43 Chaos Space Marines, 11 T-Suns, 42 Death Guard, Europe, 23 World Eaters, 35 Demons, 21 Chaos Knights, exactly the same amount as the Imperial Knights. That's cool.
Yeah.
Xenos, there's 50 Necrons, no surprise. 49 Orcs, though. That's surprising. That's way more than I was expecting. Okay. 34 Taus, 16 Votan. Highmire, there's 40 Tyranids, 22 Genies to their call. That's right. We're getting up there in numbers. Then for Eldari, there's 13 Drakari and 26 Eldari. I mean, the faction podium is total Astartes at 102, technically, because you can only take one of those factions in every team.
Correct.
Astra Militarum at 52, then Adeptus Astartes specifically at 51, Necrons right behind them at 50, Orcs 49, and then Custodes and CSM at 43.
But just look at those top 4 factions. Of course, we put Total Astartes up there because technically it's a 1 pick in your 5-pack. So we denote them, but the actual top 5, I believe, starts at Astra Militarum. But what a beautiful step down, stepping down by 1 player per faction, all the way down through our top 4. And then the 5th, there's a little bit of a cliff of 6 picks down to Custodes and Chaos Space Marines.
Just looking at that, though, where we aren't seeing, I think, a clear rack of 5 that are the most dominant. There is kind of like a clear picture of what the players may be least confident in, which is another story altogether.
That's true.
Yeah, I might start doing on big team events like this. I might start doing a bottom faction podium, like the least taken faction.
I like that.
That still got taken, you know, because there still is 4 somehow Imperial agents out of 600.
I
almost
still
700
find that crazy. There's almost as many Imperial agents as are Sisters of Battle at this event.
Correct.
But are those just like proxy Death Watch and or Grey Knight list?
Fair.
That is one way to get some more power armor Terminators into your list.
Correct. I do have a mate talking about Imperial agents as just playing as a pseudo second Astartes army in teams.
Really?
You take 3 Death Watch veteran kill teams, and then you just pad it out with like premium chaff and assassins.
Interesting.
And it remains to be seen if it's any good, but in concept, in theory, it sounds good.
You're betting on a certain style.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Yeah. Team event, if we can have 2 of those, like if they're so highly rated as Astartes, then if you can do it with Imperial agents too, then that's good.
Exactly right. The Adeptus Astartes, we always like to have a little magnifying glass on, and obviously Paul will be very happy. Blood Angels beating out all other comers as the preference of choice if you are not taking what I assume to be as majority Ultramarines in the vanilla Adeptus Astartes.
It's a good time to be a Blood Angel player / fan. It really is.
It really is. There's 3 very good lists to play. Like legitimately, there's lots of good ways to play Blood Angels. Chaos is another one that's quite interesting. Death Guard getting huge numbers in addition to Chaos Space Marines, and Demons right behind them. So Demons being the 3rd most taken Chaos faction, over and above Thousand Sons, World Eaters, and Chaos Knights. I mean, not surprising on the Chaos Knights side, but Thousand Sons and World Eaters are both seeing big portions of this year in great representation.
Yeah, I actually highly rate the Slaanesh specifically in team events. It is.
Me too.
It's the new World Eaters.
Like, it's exactly right. It's better World Eaters.
Bold. Yeah. Double bold.
You know what? Take World Eaters and Slaanesh. If you don't have an army that can deal with that, you're getting 20 there.
Yeah. Well, so essentially, if you were to pick what the best 5-pack in this meta, from what we can see, what England believes, it's Astra Militarum, Adeptus Astartes, Necrons, Orcs, and then a Ringer. And then, Codes, Custodes, or CSM if you want, or something completely buck wild. But the surprising pick there is that Orcs is like legitimately the 4th pick for the majority of teams.
Detachment? I mean, is that what's bringing them back to life?
It can't be, really?
Yeah, Tactical Brigade.
Really?
Yep, absolutely. Because it is an anti-mechanized Orc list. And that's the biggest thing that Orcs have struggled with this entire edition. If you are toughness 10 or more, Orcs struggle into you. And which is very surprising, especially if you're like toughness 10 or more with like a 2-up and an invuln. You are like absolute menace to Orcs because they have very weirdly limiting strength and AP bands and damage bands. They never really operated past damage 2 for the majority of this edition. And now we have shock attack guns coming in, just ripping big D6s. We have all sorts of stuff happening with looters and tank busters and breaker boys. So they've really started to shake things up, and people just don't know what this army does because it plays completely different to other Orc armies. It actually has a shooting phase.
That's fair. Very good shooting phase, in fact.
Very good shooting phase. Well, in saying that, let's go and have a look at the top team in attendance rated by the performance of the last ITC season. So this is Team Ignite, who was the best team in the ITC in the year of 2024. So, of course, had to have a look in here. Emperor's Children kicks us off with Veterans of the Long War. 2 Chaos Lords, Fabius Bile, Lucius, Cypher, 10 Cultists, 3x5 Legionaries, 2 Rhinos, 3 Predator Destructors, a unit of 10 and a unit of 5 Chosen, 5 Nemesis Claw, and 2 Obliterators. So, of course, going to have the Obliterators with the Oath of Moment ability, so they'll have 1 premium shooting phase of indirect, and then the rest is just good old CSM trading pieces. The Nemesis Claw is quite spicy as well, because that's some even more stratagem shenanigans for your opponent to negotiate. Then we have Orcs, Tactical Brigade. Big mech in Mega Armor, 3 big mechs with shock attack guns, 3 war bosses, 2x5 storm boys, 3x6 breaker boys, 5 looters, a unit of 10, a unit of 5 flash gits, 11 Gretchen, 3 units of 6 tank busters, and 3 trucks to tote it all around. Now, when you look at that list, it's all knobs. It's all knob chassis. It's all toughness 5-2 wound chassis. The breaker boys, toughness 5-2 wounds. Tank busters, toughness 5-2 wounds. Flash gits, toughness 5-2 wounds. It's just playing that breakpoint whilst everything in that army shooting and fighting very respectably.
Yeah, I think people forget that like flash kits are still good in close combat. Tank busters are still good in close combat. They're still orcs.
Correct. Yeah, still orcs. Like this, I'm really interested to see how orcs do into Eldar, because ostensibly, like, this list shoots, and then anytime any one of these units touches a Eldar unit, that unit goes away still.
It's true. Like one of these units will pick up 2 Eldar units on average. However, any Eldar unit should still pick up.
Should.
I mean, very optimistic.
Yeah, that's fair. But I am interested to see how orcs do, because I think orcs is an interesting list into Eldar going into the new meta.
Well, they're streaky, right? And so if they're able to get their they always have high quality shots and high volume of shots, but not the reliability. But one roll of reliableness, you're going to rip through that.
It blows it out. You're exactly right. Next up, we have a Berserker Warband of World Eaters, Angron, 2x10 Jackals, 2x5 Zerkers, 3x3 8-bound, and then 6/3 Exalted 8-bound, and 3 units of 2 Spawn. So flooding the board with 8-bound, essentially, a full 6 units of 8-bound, with a couple of small trading pieces in the Spawn and the Zerkers.
That is for a great terrain layout,
Correct.
And it's like if you have one turn to figure out what you do, and half the players will guess wrong, and then half the players won't roll well, so
exactly right. That's the easy pick from this bunch that wants the heavy board, essentially. Of these armies, this is the only one that I can clearly see benefits from the heavy table. Not that it necessarily has to play on it. Astra Militarum is up next with the Bridgehead Strike, Gaunt's Ghosts, and Creed, 2 Deathcore Marshals, 3 Scion Command Squads, as you would expect. They're going to be going with 3 units of 10 Scions, a single Tank Commander, 2 units of 10 Catachan, 2 units of 20 Deathcore Krieg Infantry to go with the Marshals and have a beautiful Feel No Pain. And like I said, 3 units of 10, 1 unit of 5 Scions, a single Taurox, 2 Bombast Ordnance Batteries, 2x3 Ogren, 3 Morty Heavy Weapons Teams, and 10 Aquilons. So actually a little spicy indirect battery here, which is really, really cute. And then it's raining men with Scions all over the place.
I don't like
and then yeah, no, not a fan. There goes your Biovol turn 1. Oh no. And then we got Tyranids up next with Invasion Fleet. So we have a Walker.
Ow!
4x10 Gargoyles, single Biovore, 3 Exocrines, Maleceptor, Norn Emissary, which I love in teams, a single Trigon as well, which I have no idea why it's there, and 2 Tyrannofexes. But this is essentially Crusher Stampede in Invasion Fleet, with the single Hive Tyrant, and then essentially, apart from 40 Gargoyles, all big Gribblies. So it's actually a little bit of a nice fatty skew.
This is almost identical to my team's list with Nids right now. I don't use a Trigon.
I was going to ask you about the Trigon.
It's literally, honestly, the Trigon is the same points as 2 Ravener squads, and that's pretty much
what you do instead.
What I do instead, yeah.
Yeah. my only head scratcher is it's Sans Lone Ops. There's no Lone Ops in this list. Like I usually.
Oh, that's the other one. And I have one less Gargoyle, and I have Lictor. Yeah. So like it's
exactly right.
Because 4 Gargoyles, I think is the absolute max. Any more than that, and it is kind of clogged up unless you're like going full swarm. 3 to me is what I usually like, because unless you're starting with 2 on the board, but then you come against things like the guard that have all this out of line of sight shooting, and then one of them's going to get picked up every time. But
so I'm a big fan of this 5-pack. What are you boys seeing here?
I just want to point out that it really brings me joy to think about the Walkrins again. It's been a
Oh
while.
my god!
It's
just a Hive Tyrant. It's just a Hive Tyrant.
Walkrint.
And Dorian says the Trigon's probably there to threaten the backfield. So that's one way
it does, but it doesn't rapid ingress the 6 inches anymore. It doesn't come in 3 inches. Yeah. It's I don't know. It feels weird just having it come in 6 inches away and then wait a turn.
Yeah. It is interesting. I do love the way I believe this Tyranid list plays, where it just kind of walls you up, jams a Norn on an expansive objective and waits for you to scramble whilst getting like no primary. I like it.
This overall pack, though, I like it. I think it's got some things to be guessing. Like if you haven't played into that Emperor's Children build, then you might not expect some of the things. The world eaters, we know just how impactful they can be, and really just catch some people like, well, I thought I had more time. You didn't.
Correct.
And,
correct. The Orcs Tactical Brigade is a brand new archetype. That's one of the best players of Orcs in the world. That's Brian Sipe, I believe, if I remember correctly. So he's essentially running roughshod over some of the best players in the world with this exact list. And so he's going to do extremely well with it. Essentially, like, the Orcs want to be hunting stuff like Custodes, Solar Spearhead. They want to be hunting Star Shatter. They want to be hunting Mechanized Guard or Mechanized Astartes, like Ironstorms and stuff like that. And it will absolutely decimate them. But it actually has a lot of play outside those also. Same for the Bridgehead. The Bridgehead can kind of play into anything that doesn't like have 2 infiltrator bricks. If you got 2 infiltrators, it's like, I can't be bothered with dealing with this. But outside that, it can kind of play into everything. And the same for those Tyranids. So they've got 3 lists that I believe can play into absolutely anything in the game. In addition to the Emperor's Children, which is exactly the same. And then essentially the Berserker Warband just doesn't want to, get got by stuff that's good into World Eaters. So it probably gets paired first, picks the non-World Eaters counter, or picks the World Eaters counter, and takes
or the best table,
and just takes the best table and hunkers on down. And what are you going to do? You're going to push on 6 units of 8-bound? No, you are not. You are not going to try and be aggressive into that unless you are like literally Legion of Excess, maybe. I guess Slanesh Demons could probably get aggressive on it, and that's even then it's debatable. But yeah, that is
or your certain Blood Angels players.
Of course.
But you would not want to pair those lists together because you're taking out 2 big strengths. Like
correct.
You're not getting a mismatch. You're getting a chess match. And that is not necessarily what you're going for in team tournaments.
And even then, like the Legion of Excess, like you have great counters to that in this build. The Tyranids do incredible work into that, as in like, oh, cool, you can have 18 feeds, but they're never making it past the halfway board of the thing because I'm just going to wall you up with gargoyles all turn and shoot you dead with exocrines, which are extremely good at killing fiends. And then you have the Astra Militarum that has the good indirect battery to pick out all the demonettes, so you don't get any protection for your fiends when they do come in. So really, really good options there. But we have one more team to talk about. Back. Now, these gentlemen reached out to me 2 to 3 months ago. This is and I adore the name, and they're all lovely gentlemen. But they actually reached out to me and asked me to help them prep for this event. So if they do badly, it's my fault. Because I've been doing a little bit of active coaching with them, just kind of talk them through, how to make a 5-pack, how to, get their lists correct, and try
how to get everyone to the event hall.
That's important. That's important.
Yep. And I literally just had a call with them this morning talking about their round 1 pairings and round 1 matchups and stuff like that. So good luck there, gentlemen. Hope you guys do well. But their 5-pack seats as thus. Of course, these are all patrons of the show as well. All 5 of the gents, and that's one way to make sure you get reviewed on the show. And so the Wooden Spoon Collectors start as thus: Chaos Space Marines, Renegade Raiders, Abaddon, Cypher. Cypher's coming up everywhere, by the way. 10 Cultists and a Rhino, a single Predator Destructor, 2 Vindicators, unit of 5 Chosen, 2x2 Obliterators, 2x5 Possessed, 2x5 Noise Marines, and a War Dog Huntsman. Because this list still has a little bit of trouble with some transports, and the War Dog Huntsman was cheaper than the 3rd Vindy, I believe. Then we have a World Eaters Berserker Warband again. So Angron and Lord Invocatus, Master of Executions, 10 Jackals, 2x10 Berserkers, 6 8-bound, 3 8-bound, 2 Spawn, and 2 Forge Fiends. So trying to spread things out again. And not
those in a lot of lists, in a lot of World Eaters lists.
Yeah. They started taking quite a bit more, especially in teams. Blood Angels, Angelic Inheritors, Paul. This is a very nice list. 2 Jump Back Captains, Dante, Sanguinor, Judicia, Lieutenant with Combi Weapon, Impulsor, 2x5 Jump Back Intercessors, 6 Blade Guard, which I'm a big fan of in Inheritors.
Been running since the Codex dropped.
Yeah, man. 2 Gladiator Lancers, 5 Infiltrators, and then 6 3/3 Sanguinary Guard, as you would want. And then we have Orcs Warhorde, so not Tactical Brigade. Beast Boss, 2 War Bosses, War Boss in Mega Armor, Zodrog, 2x10 Beast Snagger Boys, 3 Trucks, 6 Breaker Boys, 20, 10 Grots, 2 Kill Rigs, 5 Mega Knobs, and 10 Knobs, and 3x5 Storm Boys. So a very, very wide Orcs list. And then lastly, we have a bit of spice in the Eldari Battle Host: Autark, Avatar, Death Jester, Farseer, Fuegan, 5 Corsairs, 10 Guardians, and 10 Scorn Guardians, 2x5 Rangers, 5 Striker Scorpions, 5 Swooping Hawks, 2 Warwalkers, and a freaking Daka Wraith Knight.
Wow. Okay, so I like that with the Wraith Knight, because, I mean, who knows how to play against a Wraith Knight nowadays?
Exactly right. And it's relatively good on the heavy board because it's only got one shoot. Like that army only has one shooting piece. So if you play it, you can play Eldari on the heavy, and then usually the heavy table has like one good firing lane. Bang, stick the Wraith Knight in it. It's a good time. But this is the 5-pack that these gentlemen have decided to take. Now, what I would like to say is they've all decided they wanted solutions for transports. As you can see, the 2 Gladiator Lancers, the 2 Forge Fiends, having the War Dog Huntsman for a little bit extra in the Chaos Space Marines, having the Breaker Boys with the Orcs.
Hashtag Rhino Meta.
Yes, so they're all wanted to be a little bit diverse. Now, I guess some of the advice further down the track for these gentlemen is to try to tune it a little bit more, because I mean, you look at this one compared to the previous one. There's like none of that stuff. There's just the confidence in the ability and the direction of the list in the teams. And this is kind of some of the things you can identify, like trying to play a little bit, like the confidence to play into a team's environment a little bit more, rather than trying to take the singles and all comers varieties. But I think there's an extremely good way for people who are just starting in teams events to do like the 80-20. 20% of your army should be fleshed out to make sure you have solutions, because if you're not very well versed in teams events, you can assume you're going to lose some of the pairings.
There's the what if element of it. So
yeah,
you've
exactly
got
right.
things like, what if I get paired into the Land Raider list or whatever accidentally, and like, well, I'm sorry, I don't have anything that can deal with that, and then you've automatically kind of given up points. So exactly, it's like it's compounding problems that for your team, instead of potentially working your way out of a problem because you have some solutions in your list.
Rather than being like Team Ignite and just being like, we're good at pairings, we can make sure tragedies don't happen. I like what these gentlemen have done, and just being like, well, if things do go wrong, we got more options, more solutions built into our lists. So I think that's a great way to do it. Really big fan of the Angelic Inheritors list. I think is really nice. I love the 2x5 jump back intercessors with the Blade Guard, and still gets 3 into the Sanguinary Guard. I love that.
Sprinkle those characters around with the Sanguinary Guard. The detachment benefits from that almost more than I think the Angelic Host or whatever does, which is interesting. So it's a real nice list there.
And now I have to say this because I reviewed one of this gentleman's army once before on the show, and I said it was nearly perfect. And I'll say it again about the Eldari list. It's nearly perfect, more to put pressure on the player and mess with him because he's a mate now, than anything else. But once you become a mate of mine, you do cop some bullshit. I'm sure. Give it to you a little bit. But yeah, Autark, Avatar, Death Jester, Farsi, and Fuegan. Fuegan and the Autark both going to get up on Death, so you can play a lot of shenanigans in the mid board.
Can you get a couple more characters in there? Come on.
Not
even trying.
500 more points on characters, mate. Why not? And so I think it's a very interesting list. I do love getting a Wraith Knight in there in teams, because Eldari can Eldari at the moment, of course, new code is going to come out and completely change everything, but they're very known. People really understand what an Eldari army does on the battlefield a lot of the time. And so adding the Wraith Knight in is just completely like with the tactical raid, it kind of breaks people's expectations of the matchup and can really offer some X factor. So I'm down with it in teams for the time being.
And you can even see it like sometimes in the pairings process, you only look at the first page like, oh yeah, I can kill all this stuff. Like, whoa,
correct.
Wow.
Yeah. I wish you could make the font smaller on the Wraith Knight in the bottom of your list.
And I'm not saying that you want to like catch your opponent slipping that. I'm saying that there's a lot that goes into the pairing process, and like building in this little bit of insurance and somewhat redundancy of all list, and then matching that with solid play will give you a solid return, and placing in the overall results, I have to imagine.
Agreed. But yeah, that is the ITT, gentlemen. Time for us to pick some winners. And this is going to be extremely hard because there's 700 players.
Yeah, we picked the faction that is going to make the most battle points. That's what we do here in this event. We not who wins, the team that wins. We pick the faction that we think will score the most battle points.
Now, I've got a 1-2 for me, 3-4 for Dusty, 5-6 for Paul for first pick. Oh, it's me.
Well,
and don't you complain, because usually it's not me. I'm usually picking last. I'm going with Orcs. Smashing the Orcs down.
Orcs.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, 50-50. 1, 2, 3's Paul. No, Dustin's next. Paul's last.
Okay, Innes. Don't let me down, buddy.
I'm just putting in Innes. All right. Yeah. Sweet.
He's playing the host GSC. That is a differential army.
GSC.
Paul, what would you like, mate?
Oh my goodness. I'll take Astartes.
That is not a bad pick. Because a third of this event is Astartes. So a third of teams have Astartes rather, because
Yeah.
52 out of 139. Yeah, not bad.
Well, typically, as far as like the most battle points, it's not always won by even like the top 5 teams.
No,
Sometimes
it's
it's
true.
someone just cleaning
It's true.
house
Correct.
in the
Well-
mid-table, bottom tables.
Exactly right, because there are some extremely good players on so many different teams that the top teams play against the top other teams and, take points off each other, where there's like an absolute behemoth in like one of the middle tables who's like, lol, 20. Yeah.
Next event we're going to be talking about is suggested by a patron. So anytime we get that, we definitely want to cover that as well.
Shout out to Kyle Norman. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. Dice Hammer Open from Irvine, California. 50 players, 5-round event. What are we going to see there?
For this one, we're going to be seeing in the Imperial's Perfection. There is a single Sisters of Battle. That is depressing that they've dropped so much. 6 Custodes, 2 AdMech, 8 Astra Militarum, 5 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Oh?
I think you read that incorrectly, mate. There are no Sisters of Battle here. There is a single Imperial agent, however.
I read that wrong. I'm looking at the sheet. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong sheet.
Yeah, get it together.
Get it together.
It's a live show, everybody. No
Live
editing,
show.
live show.
Okay, let me
Playing
try this
without a
again.
net.
That's even more depressing. There are 0
I
Sisters
know,
of Battle.
I know. Like what you said is already sad.
It was already sad. Now even more sad. All right, let me start again. The Imperial Perfection. There's 1 Imperial Agent and no Sisters of Battle. Oh my God. 4 Custodes, 1 AdMech, 2 Astra Militarum, and 3 Grey Knights. Space Marines, there's 4 Astartes, 2 Dark Eagles, 1 Space Wolf, and 3 Blood Angels. Chaos, there's 2 Chaos Space Marines, 1 T-Sun, 3 Death Guard, 2 World Leaders, and 4 Demons. Xenos, there's 1 Necron, 5 Orcs. What? Oh, wait, This is California. That's got a lot of Orc players in California.
I love it.
1 Tau and 1 Votan. In the Hive Mind, there's 1 Tyranid and 1 GC the Cult. Eldari, there's 1 Drukhari. Meaning the faction
No Eldari.
No Eldari at all. Just 1 Drukhari. And no, it's not Skari. Faction podium, that means the faction podium is 5 Orcs, topping it off. Orcs being the most represented faction of this. Demons, Astartes, Custodes, close behind them with 4, and then a Death Guard, Blood Angels, and Grey Knights with 3. Wow.
What is going on?
What is going
indeed going on?
Still, though, very diverse meta. Like, no matter what, no matter where you're looking at, player size or whatever, sample size.
We already touched on the notable admissions. So 0 Sisters of Battle, 0 Knights, no Chaos or Imperial Knights, none, 0, and 0 Eldari, which is very surprising also. There's also a couple missing from the Astartes breakdown also. There are no Death Watch and no Templars, which isn't that surprising, but
I don't know. I will say, you're great. Those are kind of niche armies, but at the same time, like some of those just use Marine bodies, especially Death Watch. Like,
yeah, correct.
They actually come from other chapters, and then after the success, of a faction, we typically see, a bit of a bounce. So,
exactly right. Especially
first meta.
Yeah, whichever faction wins the LVO usually like gets a big old cresty wave of faction representation. But not a lot of people have the required amount of Gravis Marines because you got to buy a box of aggressors, a box of eradicators, and a box of heavy intercessors to make like one unit of Indomitor kill teams. Same for the Talon Strike kill team. You need 2 boxes of Inceptors and a box of jump back intercessors to make 1 squad. So it can be a bit of hobby lag based on that. Now, Sisters of freaking Battle, boys. 6 out of 700 players took them at the previous event. There was another event happening this weekend, which I did the stats for, the Talavera Open, where only a single Sister of Battle in 100 players. What is going on with this faction? Have people just completely lost faith in it?
How ironic.
I think they lost just too much of their scoring potential after some of the updates.
They got too many points hikes with their changes, I think.
That's you lose 2 or 3 units in that unit in that army that I think that relied on being able to play the momentum and tempo game and still score points while giving up units.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too, because they used to be really good at that trade because they had the extra miracle dice to be able to make those trades efficient every single time. So now they have less things to do that with, less pieces and less dice to do it with.
Correct. I mean, if I had gone back and given, and requested one thing on behalf of Sisters players, was that they don't change the points. This most recent balance update, they just change the miracle dice and see what happens. Because the points had been going up consistently over the last 6 months, and then to see them have like a third points hit and the miracle dice get stripped back, the points may have been the thing that when it was over the top, in my opinion. But we have one gentleman and their list to disseminate. This is Jeff Jew, who's playing Orcs Tactical Brigade. Of course, Orcs was the most represented faction, so I wanted to break down this one. And of course, Jeff is a superstar player from the Xenos Petting Zoo. And he has a big mech and mega armor with the mech captain, 3 big mechs with shock attack guns, one with Mork's Cunning, the other one with Gob Boomer, which I love saying, 2 war bosses, 2x5 storm boys, 5 trucks, 2x5 burner boys, 10 flash kits to, of course, go with the whichever one. I think it's Mork's Cunning, which makes them into the pseudo bad rock squad. 2x10 Gretchen, 10 commandos, which I love to see, 2x5 knobs to go with the war bosses, and 3x6 tank busters to get all the other big mechs jumped in there. And that is the list. It is a lot of transports. It is 5 transports, and then a bunch of infiltrating, screening, and fast units in the Storm Boys, Gretchen, and commandos. I love the balance of this list. It's notably missing the Breaker Boys and is taking the knobs over the Breaker Boys, probably for points, and the fact that he probably believes and knows his meta quite well and doesn't need the Breaker Boys as much without, things like Knights to crack and stuff like that. The tank busters should be more than enough. What do you think?
See, these tactical brigades everywhere. They're good.
Look, if you can get flash kits in an army, that's good enough for me. Those are some of the coolest orc models, ever, and they've been underutilized.
120%, mate. They look fantastic. They are got one of the coolest fluffs behind them as well. I'm just going to quickly go down and tell you what those enhancements are. So Mech Captain, of course, Big Mech and Mega Armor or Big Mech Shock Attack Gun only. During the declare battle formation step, the bearer can be attached to flash kits. Each time one of the bearer's unit makes a range attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. So that is the one that's going to be attached to the flash kits, and they are going to absolutely pop off those flash kits because, of course, you can +1 to hit as well. Then we have Mork's Cunning on one of the shock attack guns. After both players have deployed their army, select up to 3 orc units from your army and redeploy them. That's just absolutely fantastic. And then Gob Boomer is a warboss or big mech or mech only. Each time the bearer issues a tactics, it can do so to friendly units within 18 rather than 6. Because, of course, they're issuing orders like guard. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's so punishing for that redeploy, though. I mean, because you do use it's such a. And in the deployment thing, it's you really are trying to outmaneuver and think about what's going to happen first and second turn, and then your opponent is like, "Well, I'm just going to move these 3 units."
Yeah, and one of those will always almost be the commandos. The commandos are just going to infiltrate up in your face and then just bounce away once they counter deploy you. And then trucks will be on the line, then into safety, etc., etc. So really, really good, really flexible army. I think it's exceptional. I like this one's a little bit more MSU than I suppose Brian Sipes' list that we disseminate otherwise, but that one is for teams, and he's going straight line lethality with the 3x6 tank busters, 3x6 breaker boys. Whereas this has gone for the knobs and war bosses for a little bit more mid-board trading. And then the 2x5 burner boys, I'm actually a huge fan. 2x5 burner boys in trucks is actually really good screen clear and pretty frustrating to deal with for the very cheap points cost it comes at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Taking the 2-hit out of the equation. I mean, who doesn't like
exactly
that?
Yeah.
Used
exactly right.
To great success, and like you're talking about, like all those gargoyles we're talking about from the list before, like those they've certainly made a resurgence, and and Final Day has brought back a lot of bodies that burners really work well into against.
Indeed. All right, let's pick some winners. Paul's going to go first because you picked last.
Give me orcs.
Yep. Dustin, would you like to go next?
And I'm getting real risky with my picks.
I am going. You know what? I'll go a little spicy too. I'm going to go demons.
Ooh, I was considering going demons. Not bad, mate. I might as well go play the math. Let's look at the numbers. Let's be lame and I'll go.
Everybody,
actually,
let's go
custodies.
So we score ourselves points based on how we pick our predict our winners. And right now for the month of January is it a dead tie. Tie. So this actually defines who will be the winner.
This
for
last
January.
one is definitely a spicy one because we all picked kind of Based
We'll
on
pick the
numbers,
numbers.
but like, they're not. Yeah,
Messing around. Yeah, is what we just like.
we know. It's not early in the month where you can play around a little bit
Yeah.
and try and pick a 3-pointer out of the blue. No, we got to pick the numbers here because we all want to win it.
Yep, down to the wire here on this. So find out how that goes over on the Patreon page. Like if you're just tuning in for the first time, we do this each and every week, starting live 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. If you are listening to us on the podcast aggregators, or you can listen to us whenever you want. But know that we do have a great chat community. Come and hang out with us and chat with us on if you want so inclined here on 9 p.m. Now that's our rundown of the meaty meta stuff. We normally at this point in time take a break, do like a little bit of a chill time where we have a segment we call the Fuego Rapido. This segment typically has nothing to do with Warhammer 40K, where we just kind of relax, give ourselves a series of topics. Sometimes we have no knowledge of in advance. Sometimes there's a theme to them, and we give ourselves 2 minutes per topic that comes up on the screen to kind of run down, giving the hottest takes. At the end of that 2 minutes, we abandon the topic, never to return to it again, unless Patreon demands it.
Ooh, you can only have one. Hey, Dustin.
Yeah.
What is this?
I'm pretty sure I made this when I was hype on the new Highlander coming out. So this,
excellent.
This one is
Excellent.
based on. It's still Warhammer based though, so it's basically 2 units from an army that you can only have one of them in your army. Like
So
one
one of
with
them
one
gets
data
deleted.
sheet. You could have multiple the data sheet, but one data sheet.
Okay. Yeah. I like this idea. This is a cool idea.
A local store just ran a Highlander tournament.
Those are so much
here.
fun.
Hell yeah.
Still exist. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Those are so much fun. I love those. Okay. Ready for this? Here we go. 2 minutes on the clock with rubrics or Magnus. We start with an easier one. I think it's easier.
Demon Primarch all day long. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have rubrics,
Right?
what is your
That's
army?
the thing.
I mean, I want to agree with Paul. And
Rhino,
say
Spawn, and Magnus. Shut up.
Zangos, baby. Let's go.
They got the Zangors, that's right. I mean, I feel like you could do a pretty decent hero hammer with Magnus and that's the characters, right?
Yeah. Can they join Zangors? I thought only the Zangor Enlightened.
No, but
so
I just mean like
Zangor
hero
Shaman.
hammer. Don't need to join
They're just
anything.
walking around.
Just walking around.
I'm tough. I'm toughness 3 with a 3-up, 5-up. I got this.
T3. What?
T4, sorry. T4
I mean,
with a 3-up, 5-up.
I think the
four
smart and
wins.
obvious call is rubrics, but
Yeah.
No,
but
yeah. If you want to win a lot of games, yeah, rubrics is
if
what's up. But
if winning is your thing, then maybe you should. Be
but looking cool, I mean, Magnus with a bunch of Enlightened and Spawn, coming across the table.
Look, my brain says Rubik's, my heart says Magnus. I'm going with my heart, Magnus.
Yeah, that's fair.
He can Rubik's can't solo a game. Like one
No,
unit of
that's
Rubik's
true.
cannot solo a game. Magnus can absolutely solo a game.
He's so like necessary in T-Sun's list right now. Like so necessary.
Magnus soloing a game typically has like a bunch of like very preset situations. Like he has to be like on 1 wound. It has to be like turn 3, and then he lives forever and kills everything up.
It kills everything.
It's like Magnus on 1 wound and turn 3 is like should be the most horrifying thing for an opponent.
Correct. It's 100%. I love that.
I mean, that's a real thing, right? Like I'm not making that up. That seems to happen. Yeah.
It definitely happens a lot.
Yep. Every day.
Every day. It happened just now. We just missed it. It happened in the game somewhere on the table.
All right.
Next one.
Next. Magnus more fun to paint too, I think.
Hammer Strike or Thunder Strike?
Oh,
so for those of you that aren't
one.
familiar, one of them is ignores cover, and the other one is +1 to wound for the Astartes armies. What are they?
The Thunder Strike is quite a bit more expensive than the Hammer Strike, but hits on 2s with longer range weaponry. Has las cannons instead of multi melters, essentially, as equivalents. The Thunder Strike, like you said, like I said, is quite a bit cheaper. I believe it's like 20-25 points cheaper, but ignores cover ain't +1 to wound. +1 to wound is, I'm going to go Thunder Strike.
One of these has been making its way into a lot of lists, right? So
both of them
have. Yeah, I mean, the one you're thinking of, Mark Hurdle had the Thunder Strike.
Thunder Strike.
Yeah,
well, I'm going with the winners. Thunder Strike.
Yeah, Thunder Strike. Yeah. It is to be noted that the Thunderstrike only works against monsters and vehicles.
That's true. Yeah.
It's buff, whereas the Hammer Strike ignores cover on anything. So there is that to take into consideration as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the +1 no wound on monsters and vehicles, that's kind of where you want the
It's only where it's exactly right. Exactly right. Like I play it in my Raven Guard list with all my Black Knights because they struggle into, toughness 9 or more. And the only things that are going to be toughness 9 or more that the plasma is going to struggle into freaking monsters and vehicles. So it's not an issue whatsoever. But there are.
Which one has Sergeant Tinnitus in it?
Sergeant Tinnitus. That's that's the Hail Strike. That's the only one that's not here.
Oh,
because it's
wow.
it's very much worse because it doesn't actually shoot well. It's just got anti-infantry guns. If that one was here, I may have just picked it up for a meme.
So I mean, like, the Ignores cover is good against pretty much everything.
Everything. And funnily enough, Ignores cover is not that easy to come by in the
It's
Astartes.
really not. They actually don't have a lot of options with it.
I'm still going Thunderstrike though.
Thunderstrike gets my vote too.
I think it's Thunderstrike if you have access to the +1 to wound oath, or if you don't, rather.
If you don't, exactly right. That's why I like the Dark Angels, because you don't.
Yeah, okay. And if you do have that, then you get the Ignores cover for sure.
You don't. Yeah, you don't take Ignores cover. Yeah.
That's my vote.
I just want to say you've been Thunderstrike.
Oh, no,
No, I don't want to get a copyright strike.
Done.
Yeah.
Next up,
We've got enough
Gargoyles
of
or
those.
Biovores?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. This is actually a hard one.
This is very hard. I'm actually going to say Gargoyles.
Yeah.
Gargoyles for me too, but I think both of them have that annoyance to your opponent factor that should give it some meta points here.
Well, see, the Biovores are game-changing in some matchups. Because people forget you can't end advanced moves within 6 inches of them. Like, that's really bad for some armies. Like, really, like, you have advanced charge, don't care. I can still zone you out. Plus the fact that you can get the free secondary sometimes. It forces your opponent to have to actually spread out and prevent that, or not care. Just say, fine, get your behind enemy lines and engage, whatever, I don't care. Gargoyles, on the other hand, oh my god, they're just so good.
So I'm of the opinion that a Biovore contributes to you winning the game, but the Gargoyles can win you the game.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it.
That's the way I'm weighing it up. The Biovore is good for like a little bit of incremental points, but the Gargoyles like score you primary and deny your opponent's primary. They make a bigger impact on the overall score of the game than the Biovore does. But the Biovore is freaking busted, like stupid busted.
It is so busted. Like, I mean, if you could have a Biovore in your army, you have a Biovore. There's no reason not to.
Dude,
I think it's prerequisite. Like, it's
really
just there
is.
when you load up the list.
It should be.
Like,
it should be.
If this was 7th edition and you could just ally everything with everyone with this rule set, a Biovore would be in every single player's army.
list.
Every single one. Every list starts at 1950 because every list has a Biovore.
Yeah. Yeah,
but Gargoyles just have such an impressive footprint, though.
It's not just the footprint. They have like one of the best data sheets in the game. They fly, they're infantry, they deep strike, they have shoot and scoot, their weapons are assault, they move 12. They have 2 OC, like they're OC2.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Like they're like Gargoyles are legitimately debatably the best battle line in the game.
Yeah,
like, it's actually they're top 3 at a minimum.
Yeah, for sure.
To me it's Gargoyles.
Yeah, it's Gargoyles. Yeah. But again, Biovores are auto included if you can have one. Just but if you have to choose between the two, there's no choice. All right, we're going to get to you guys now. Scions or Aquilons?
Scions. Ooh,
you questioned it.
So
yes, Joel, a Biovore is only 50
like,
points.
I don't know that, like, there just seems to be, whenever you're going to include that with a bonus rule on it, that it's like subject to scrutiny that may or may not get balanced.
Yeah, correct. So
Scions seem more consistent, and so for preserving the collection and hobby time, maybe Scions.
So Aquilons can score any card essentially, but Scions can kill any unit and still score a bunch of cards. So I'm gonna go Scions, but I'm not.
I do like the scoring. That's a good point with the score any card.
Yeah, Aquilons just and like open up your scoring game so much, but Scions just are so dangerous, so like such a dynamic and exciting unit. So I'm gonna pick Scions without a huge amount of conviction.
This is a tough one because they both look cool. I mean, like
you can't build a list around Aquilons. You can build a list around Scions. So no, it is
that's
with more conviction. Aquilons are not an archetype. Scions is just a flat out archetype, and Scions can go in.
But can't you add Aquilons to almost any archetype though? So
that's the thing.
They may not. You're not built around, but they are like, if you had a unit, you might get 6 extra points this turn or this game.
It's true. Like you're right, and like 5 Scions can do the vast majority of things that Aquilons can do, and Scions can come as 5, Aquilons have to come as a 10. Man, I wish. I'm still sticking Scions.
I think Scions is the.
I think Scions is the answer, but it is definitely.
I think Scions is the answer.
Yeah, it's hard. But
that was a good one. It was a good debate.
Or transport, if you want.
If you want, yeah.
Do that too. All right, Paul, your turn.
If Aquilons move 12.
Aquilons move 12. Oh, that's no contest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
maybe.
And the last one. Sanguinary Guard or Death Company?
Man.
Oh.
This is tough. This is tough, especially right now. Like this is easier to answer in different time periods. But right now it's tough.
You could almost go, okay. You've got time. You got 2 minutes. Me and Dustin ain't gonna say shit here.
Yeah,
anyway.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
You start at like 2nd edition.
Okay. Yeah, 2nd edition. Sanguinary Guard did not exist. So Death Company all the way. Like that was it. Third, we don't even get. It's like we get to 4th edition. That's when Sanguinary Guard hit, and then but you still had to have both of them at the same time. But probably Sanguinary Guard at that point in time. But no, we'll go. Let me go. Let's go to. I'll fast forward this to right now. Is that the Sanguinary Guard did just get an impressive glow up, like with a 4+ invulnerable save, the 3+ armor save, and then this is the character support that they can
extra
get.
wound as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I said the wrong armor save, but with the 3 wounds that I was talking about. Yeah, they are really good. But the built-in like reroll charge and the fact that you're going to add Lamartis to the Death Company to reduce that damage or whatever, like I find that you can have too many Sanguinary Guard and you can often not have too many Death Company. Like for the point type of situation.
I was going to put this to you, like a Death Company takeable without Lamartis, and how does that compare to Sanguinary Guard? Like a Sanguinary Guard takeable without a character.
Sanguinary Guard, take this. I think you're going to want Sanguinary Guard over Death Company. If I had to pick one right now, it's probably going to be Sanguinary Guard, because technically you could leave them out there in the middle of the field and oops your charge and still maybe have 1 or 2 left over at the end of the thing, where Death Company would all be dead. Probably even with Lamartis. With that -1, but you can take Death Company without Lamartis, but it is just much nicer to have it coming in, be able to deep strike and then re-roll is good with all this.
Fuego. So Sanguinary Guard.
Sanguinary Guard is the answer. That makes sense.
I agree with that.
Thank you for indulging me.
Of course. And then it's time for this week's meme theme. It's the dog sitting in the giant fire room on fire. This is fine.
Well, it's all of us right now waiting for the Eldar Codex.
Shining Spears.
Shining Spears, Dark Reapers. The best Phoenix Lords have ever felt.
Oh my god, yeah. Phoenix Lords.
Mugen is Malgan. I got corrected on a previous show. Is probably the only.
He's the Mogatar. Not the Moo guitar.
No, it's Moo. Big old cowboy. He's black and white, painted anyway. He's the debatably only probably not takeable. Whereas every other Phoenix Lord, Windmill Slam, Pick Your Poison, they're all freaking amazing.
From a perspective, this will just shock people. People will need to adapt how they play to it, because they've not been playing into an army that is this mobile and lethal yet. Or recently, I should say recently. And it will take some my screen. How do I screen again? What do I screen against? What do I take now that it's going to get into an ecosystem that is not currently prepared for this.
Agreed. That's the first one is the Eldar, waiting for the Eldar Codex.
I'll just say 7th edition Warhammer.
Yeah. Because we did think it was fine at the time.
We did.
A lot of us were just pigs in the sty, being like, "Oh, this is disgusting. I love it."
Look, I'll be real with you. That's when grand tournaments got redefined to maybe 28 folks is grand. Right?
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So
now if you're under 100, you maybe don't even make it on this show. It's wild. It's wild.
It's crazy.
What else?
The Allies Matrix, was.
Oh God, the Allies Matrix. That's
Yes.
another one right there. The Allies Matrix.
Don't get me wrong, I definitely played with it, enjoyed it. Like I've loved all the stuff.
The moment I saw orcs with Tau, it just nope.
Yeah, man.
Nope.
Yep. Yep.
Hey,
And I used to
were
love.
desperate, right? I think.
Yeah.
They were desperate.
Desperate indeed. Someone was.
Someone was definitely desperate.
The flyer rules.
Flyer
Yes.
rules, yeah.
And you don't even need a state edition. Just full stop, right? On flyer rules.
Indirect fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Indirect fire possibly coming back into the game.
Just
right
get in
now as
cover.
well.
No,
Get better saves.
You're always in cover. Oh no. There's so many things that make you ignore cover when you're shooting out of line of sight. Like what? What? I say this as an army that actually can do that, but my army is not as good.
Yeah.
The state of Adeptus Sororitas.
Oh, that's a sad one to end on.
It is unfortunately justified by the entire show previously.
Definitely.
Oh, but so this is a great time to be playing Warhammer, and just the diversity in the list is encouraging. We mentioned this. I think it was just on our Patreon show, our recap. It's like it really is. Focusing. You can highlight the skill of the pilot. The skill of the pilots matter more now than it has in a really, really long time, which is fun to see. Fun to see what people brew, and then fun to see how people execute on those things. And it's just a great time to be out there in the world, a part of that, and talking about it.
Totally agree, mate.
That's our show this week. Look, really appreciate everybody tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe if you made it this far. I mean, if you made it through that, definitely subscribe. I really appreciate it. Leave us those 5-star reviews. It means a whole lot. Leave some comments and engage with the show. That's one hassle-free way, or a couple hassle-free ways to show other people the algorithms that people should be exposed to and come hang out with us as well. And look, really appreciate it. This is just the beginning of this year. Cannot wait to be talking about tournaments each and every week. We'll see you all next week, everybody. Have a good night.
See you later.
Time.